Have you ever stayed in a situation that wasn't serving you, but it felt too risky to walk away or uncomfortable? We're going to talk about this concept and how it's really important to think about your walkaway strategy and how to apply it. Welcome to How to Get What You Want. This podcast is for driven women ready to claim their goals and navigate their careers with clarity and confidence. Join me as we explore real stories, tools, and strategies to help you steer your career exactly where you want to go. Let's get started on helping you get what you want. Hi, friends. Welcome. I'm so happy that you made the choice to be with me today. I only talk about things that are really interesting to me, obviously, because every time I feel like when I start my podcast, I say, this is a great topic, and this is a great topic. This whole idea of walking away is, we almost romanticize it. We think, oh, I'll just walk away. I'll just, if I'm not getting what I need, I walk away. But have you ever been in a situation where you were uncomfortable, it was risky, but you just couldn't get up to walk away? There's something about that. The myth around it is if we walk away, we're risking something. We're leaving something on the table. But at the reverse of that is really true. And when you think about walking away, it helps you. And a lot of times, what makes it really hard for us to walk away is because we are emotionally invested. We're maybe heightened in our emotion. And so walking away, we want to stay in the fight. We want to, keep going. But when you walk away, it allows you to really think about what's going on. And in fact, Harvard talks about how powerful that is to be able to have enough objectivity that you know that it's the right thing to do to walk away. And it actually allows the other side to consider what they need to do, how important this is to them. You might get more than what you expected just by walking away. So this whole concept of walking away is not losing. It creates better outcomes and it can increase the power dynamics in a positive way for you. So thinking about walking away, I think about it applying in a lot of different ways for me. And especially people that I really love, it's almost like once I get in it, it's really hard to walk away because I want to settle it right then. I want to be able to reconcile it and not walk away and hold that emotion. I just kind of want to give it away so that I can relieve the burden or the emotion around it. But it can be really powerful. It really came to me last year. I was doing a workshop for a organization and their board. And so there's 50 people in the room. And at the end, this guy walked up to me and said, well, what about the walkaway? You didn't really talk about when something goes wrong, what do you do? And it really allowed me to see that focusing on and helping people understand the walkaway is as powerful as what it means to be in the moment. And even thinking about that walkaway before you go in when you're preparing, because it can feel really uncomfortable. You almost want to visualize yourself and be really clear about, if this happens, then I am going to get up and walk away. Or being able to identify, this is getting really uncomfortable. I'm not sure this is serving me. I need to walk away. I need to stand up and literally walk out of the room right now. So walking away can achieve better results for you. And thinking about that whole idea of, if I separate myself from the situation, everything can stay the same. It's not like it will go away, and it can get better. And it also signals to the other person that you're worth it. And what you're asking for is something that you're willing to, if you don't get it, find something else. It illustrates that you have other options. When you feel stuck and you don't have other alternatives, you tend to want to stay in it because there's nothing else to walk to. So even having that visualization, there's strength in having options outside of the deal that you're doing. It just gives you more confidence. It helps you to understand that if this doesn't work out, you do have something else. You can visualize that you're walking toward that opportunity. Even if you still want the one that you're walking away from, it gives you strength to go, all right, I'm moving more toward that. We'll see how this all works out. I'm not saying this is easy. In fact, that's why I think it's important to really focus on it, consider it. Where are the situations that, whether you plan it or you're in the middle of it, do you need to walk away? I want you to think about these times in a high stakes situation where the outcome is really important to you, where you might have history with the other person. Maybe the other person's just triggering you and you do need to separate yourself. That could send a message to that other person that their behavior is not something that you're going to put up with, that you need to break that cadence, that song that is going on, so that you can come back and refresh and get on the same footing. It's a really powerful way to get clarity for yourself, to illustrate your power, to understand what your alternatives are. When you consider what your walk away is, it forces you to identify what those options are. And that is such a powerful thing to do, to be aware of, because it gives you that confidence in the moment. All right, I have a few stories to share, some really good ones that I'm only going to share here. So stay right where you are. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and I told her the story I'm about to tell you. And she said, you have to tell more people that. That is such a powerful story. It's about my sister. My sister is a public figure. She runs a city. And I just looked it up online, and it said that her working budget is about $310 million a year. So it's a very full size city. And she has been in charge for a long time. She's a great leader. She's a servant leader. She's humble, and she's really grown into her leadership. She has shared with me before that at first it felt like she didn't have the qualifications. And over time, she's realized that she's really good at what she does. So I love that she has that strength and that confidence to know that she is enough. And sometimes getting our value and understanding that is important. So she was telling me this story a couple of years ago. There was a big vendor that was flying to see her, to meet with the city manager and have the initial meeting about working with them. And it was a big project. I don't know what service it was, but it was going to be a substantial logo for this vendor to have. So it was a very important meeting. They flew in their top people to meet with the city manager. So my sister's always early. So she got to the meeting early. And just because she's just a friendly, outgoing person, when they arrived, she asked them if they wanted something to drink. She went and grabbed something for them. And the meeting got started. And a few of her staff members came to the meeting as well. And she noticed that they started presenting. They were presenting, and all of their nonverbals, they're looking at this person on her staff. And she asked some questions, and it came very obvious that they didn't realize that she was the city manager. Maybe because she was a woman, maybe because she was there early and she served them coffee. They made some assumptions. It's pretty surprising to me that they didn't look up who she was before they came, but let's not judge now. So they get to the end of the conversation, and the vendor says, well, do you have any advice for us when we meet with the city manager? I mean, they just thought that this was the prep committee, if you will. These are the people that to see this, and they are getting themselves prepared and come back to meet with the city manager, quote unquote. And my sister, who is the city manager, says to them, well, I know he is a really great guy. Your presentation will really be solid for him. Best of luck to you. I'm really happy for you. I appreciate that you came into town. thank you so much. And she walked away. She walked out. And she said her staff their eyes were like plates. They couldn't believe what had happened. And I'm glad she had the ability to do that instead of just in the moment shaming them, saying something. I mean, that would have been fully appropriate. That was something that was really, really bad business. And she walked away. And if only I could have seen the faces of those people, or when they realized. Her staff probably told them once they walked out of the room. But what an interesting thing to think about, that power that she had. In the moment, it didn't feel like a big deal because she just walked away. She said to them, I appreciate you. She wasn't snotty. She wasn't mean. She didn't have an ego about it. She just walked out. She framed in that moment exactly how she wanted them to see it. And she didn't care about benefiting from seeing their shock, getting their apology. She knew that it was powerful if she would just walk out. I wonder I've never asked her if that was her plan. I guess she didn't expect them not to realize that she was the person in charge. It's like silence. You don't really understand awkward silence until you observe somebody else doing it. Walking away and understanding that power is a great opportunity if you see somebody else do it. So as a leader, think about, when are those times when it serves you or the people that work for you to understand the power of the walk away? This might be in a negotiation. It could be when you're working with a peer colleague and maybe they're losing their cool, and maybe there's a whole room full of people, and maybe you want to just say, hey, listen, it doesn't feel like this is a productive conversation. I'm going to put something on the calendar for us to come back to, and let's just take a break. Let's reconvene on this conversation another time. That's not storming out. It's not having a tantrum. That is framing as a leader with objectivity, with confidence, with clarity, and then walking away and separating yourself. It's a powerful thing. So think about some times where you just stayed. I can think about times where I should have walked away when a negotiation was getting pretty. I remember we were negotiating with a media company, and they were giving us some absolutes that we couldn't deliver from a technology perspective. And we just kept volleying back and forth, and they just wouldn't give in. Had I walked away, that would have made such a statement to, you know what, this is something we can't negotiate on. I'm not just saying it, my words, your actions, actually, we believe actions more than words. So a walk away puts an exclamation mark on what you've been saying. So when we were volleying back and forth, if I would have walked away, that would have illustrated, I'm not lying. This is one thing we can't agree to. We cannot deliver this. And I should have walked away. Instead, it kept going round and round and round. So think about walking away. Think about the times that you should have done it, and start to spot those opportunities where even identifying this is a moment where I need to consider, will walking away benefit me? Will it benefit the situation? And will it allow us to come back and have better outcomes if I have the courage to walk? I was thinking about these tips, and when I was looking through them and considering what I wanted to share, I thought, I need to do this more. I'll be honest with you, this is not something that I like to do. It is uncomfortable, and I'm going to think about these tips for myself and how I can apply them in the next couple weeks, because it is a really powerful aspect of adopting a negotiator mindset to think about the walkaway. So the first tip is know your non-negotiables. When I talk to people about having a negotiation hangover, it's because they don't have clarity around what would the best possible outcome look like, plus some additional so that you're not surprised if they make you an offer that you're just like so overjoyed by. But as that is so important in a negotiation, so is the floor. What are your non-negotiables? What are the things that if you don't get, this is not a good deal for you? Consider that even though you might need this role or you really want whatever you're negotiating or the outcome of the discussion is really important, living with it may not serve you. So what is your floor? What are the things that, and be really clear, this is not about bluffing. This is about being clear for yourself about what your non-negotiables are. If you don't get this and this, if you don't get this level of support, if you don't get this number, then I'm going to walk away. And it can sound really very human. Listen, I would love to work with you. I know we've worked on this for a really long time, but I can't accept these terms as they sit today. And I'm just going to have to walk away. I need to think about this, or this is not a good deal for me. Thinking about and having clarity what that means to you, the value that you serve. I remember a coach of mine said when I was interviewing for a company I used to work for, he said, you'll be really ecstatic in that moment to get that job back because you want a job right now. But once you sit back in that desk, you'll be like, why am I here? Why am I here again? I'm tired of this. So being really clear about what that floor is for you. Don't negotiate with yourself. What are your non-negotiables? The second one is having a BATNA. BATNA is your best alternative to a negotiating agreement. Alternatives give you power. Even if you really want the thing that you're facing, have alternate paths. What is important to you that you could do? What's an alternative to this situation? Maybe you want to lead this project really bad because it has great exposure and it'll increase your influence. But maybe as a part of this, there's another one that's coming up or one that somebody else needs to lead. It's not quite, but that is an alternative. It gives you that agility to say, all right, I have this. And it can even give you that to give to another person if that alternative is something in play. But having an alternative is powerful. That was one of the first three concepts that when I went to Harvard, they talked about. Alternatives are your really steak and potatoes piece of a negotiation. What are your alternatives? Always know that. It gives you the power to walk away because you know there's another opportunity for you. And then the third tip is to practice in low stakes situations. When you feel like, maybe it's when you're deciding on what movie you're going to watch on Netflix or what show you want to watch. Really talk about how important, how empowered you are. And if your partner is like still saying, no, but I really want to watch this, or the Super Bowl's on, or I want to do this alternatively, say, you know what? I'm just not happy with this. It's really important that I watch this today and walk away. See what happens. That's a funny example, but it's really important that we try these things in low stakes situations. Maybe a better option is in the heat of the moment when you're in a discussion, a disagreement with somebody that you really care about, and you just want to prove that you're right, and you are. What can you do to just say, you know what, in this moment, I'm going to let there be room for us to just kind of get our bearings and remove yourself. And it is important not just to walk away. That's can be disrespectful, but say, I'm really feeling uptight right now about this, and I want to continue this conversation, but I need some time and some space. So I'm walking away. There's power in just doing that and seeing what happens to the dynamics. You can learn a lot about yourself and how getting your bearings can refresh and renew the conversation. It's extracting that emotion so that doesn't become a part of the power dynamics. it's really important to think about the relationship. So practice these in low stakes situations that in the moment will feel high stakes, but it's honoring to the relationship that is at hand. So the first tip is understanding your non-negotiables. Be really clear about your walk away. Number 2 is your alternatives, your BATNA, your best alternative to the negotiated agreement. What are the alternatives you have? Always have them. And the third is then practice in low stakes situations with people that are important to you, or even a colleague in your everyday. Are you convinced that walking away is really important? It is. There's value in it, and it feels really awkward. People don't do it on a regular basis. You probably haven't seen a lot of people walk out. Reflect on when you have seen people walk out and what that felt like and what statement that made. This may feel awkward to you, and so start with that third tip and try it in different situations and consider it. What is my walk away here? Reflect on a current situation that you might be feeling stuck. When you go into the conversation, maybe it's again, can you consider really boldly giving your ask and then saying, if we can't come to terms on this, I really appreciate you, but this is a non-negotiable for me. So think about it and let me know what you want to do. And always consider your non-negotiables. You have value. It's really important to consider what that value is and be really clear about what's important to you so that your walkaway doesn't feel emotional. Have your past self decide what your walkaway terms are so that in that moment, when you're not getting them, you're saying, you know what? That person, as if that was a persona that you're listening to, your past self, I can't do this. I told myself that I really needed this aspect to be in agreement of our conversation. And because it's not, a no deal is better than a bad deal. And I really want to honor that. So think about it's not being a jerk. It's not being disrespectful to the situation. It's actually the reverse of that. You're honoring yourself and the other party. So where do you need to walk away and why does it feel hard to you? What would it look like for you to get what you want by walking away? Just think about that. What would it look like if walking away meant you got what you wanted? It might not be right in that moment. It might be later. But when you are really clear about your non-negotiables, then there is something that's better for you in the future because you're really clear about the value you bring. I can't wait to hear your stories. I would love to hear what really bubbled up for you today. What are you going to consider? Are you going to become a force? Think about your walk away. Think about that, the music bed that's going to play in your head when you're walking away. And remember, it's not going to feel comfortable. It's going to feel really awkward, but doing it, more you do it, the more you practice it, the more it'll feel genuine for you. And it's what you say before you do. It's not just huffing and puffing and walking out. That's what we picture in the movies, if you will. It's about framing your walk away and then standing up and walking out. Whew. If you want to continue the conversation and live in my world, I talk about these things all the time. Go to negotiationlove.com, join my newsletter. I'd love to be in your inbox every week and just provide you value. I love to spread the word about how powerful it is to adopt a negotiator mindset to get what you want. That's what this is all about, no matter what that is for you. So if you know somebody that needs to be really clear about their non-negotiables and walking away, share this with them. Do it now. Let them hear it. That will show that you care about them. And always remember that negotiation is more than a skill. It's a mindset to get what you want. I'm Susie. I'm glad you made the choice to be here today. Until next time.